Ever feel like you start with a bang and quit just as fast? But the issue isn't your motivation, it's your system. And once I stopped relying on willpower and built the right system, discipline finally stuck. In this video, I want to walk through the 6 practical tools that helped me follow through consistently and finally get the results that lasted. Hello, I'm Jonathan from Parent Portfolio, and I know how frustrating it is to set big goals and still fall short. My wife and I were once buried under $250,000 of student loan debt. We had 2 kids, a business to grow, and a future we were determined to change. That's when I learned that discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. And building it doesn't require more hustle. It just takes the right tools. That's why I'm sharing this video with today. 6 practical strategies that help me stop spinning my wheels and finally create consistent results. So let's start with what became a total game changer for me. Implementation intention. For years, I tell myself things like, I need to save more, or I'll start budgeting next month. But nothing ever stuck because it was too vague. Everything changed when I got specific. Instead of wishful thinking, I started saying, I will transfer $100 to my savings account every Friday at 9 a.m., right after I get paid. That level of clarity removed all the guesswork. It wasn't about motivation anymore. It was about execution. I didn't have to think about when or how. The decision was already made. And research backs this. People are significantly more likely to follow through when they pre-decide the when and where of their actions. As a husband and a dad juggling work, business, and family, I realized that the fewer decisions I leave to chance, the more consistent I become. Life is full of distractions, and when you're tired or overwhelmed, your brain defaults to comfort, not discipline. That's why implementation intention works so well. It protects your priorities from emotions. Now, whether I am recording content, reviewing our budget, or setting aside time for personal development, I schedule it in like an appointment so that I don't miss it. If something matters, I don't leave it up to how I feel in the moment. I give it a time, a place, and a purpose. And then I'll show up. The next strategy that really helped me is the 5-4-3-2-1 method. Popularized by Mel Robbins, it's deceptively simple, but powerful. One of the biggest enemies of discipline is hesitation. That tiny window between knowing what you should do and actually doing it. And as a guy who's managed a household, built a business, and juggled responsibilities, I can tell you this. Those little hesitations add up. I find myself staring at the budget, knowing it needed attention, but somehow end up scrolling on Instagram or watching another YouTube video. That delay, that's where progress dies. The 5-second rule breaks that loop. You count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When you hit 1, you move. No debate, no procrastination, no overthinking. What I've learned is that action beats perfection every time. I've used this countdown to send uncomfortable emails, review our finances, start editing videos, even get out of bed when I didn't want to. The trick is you have to commit before your brain has time to talk you out of it. As men, we're often taught to just push through things. But the truth is, we're not robots. We need systems that help us beat resistance. So next time you feel stuck, like you're hesitating on something important, don't wait for motivation. Just count down and go. You'd be amazed how much momentum you can build off a single decision to take action in 5 seconds. One of the most underrated tools for building discipline is tracking your progress visually. When I first got serious about saving money, I created a simple tracker. Nothing fancy, just a sheet with boxes that I could color in every time I hit a savings milestone, whether that's $100, $500, or $1,000. It didn't matter how big or small. What mattered was seeing that progress. Watching that chain of wins grow was powerful. It gave me a visual reminder that every little effort was stacking up. And as a guy who used to second guess myself all the time, this was the proof I needed. Whether you're saving money, paying off debt, or working on your side hustle, having something you can look at every day helps you stay focused. And it also helps that momentum to keep going. I even started doing this with the hours I put into my business. I track how many hours I worked. And then I challenge myself to beat the previous one. Not in a perfectionist way, but just to stay consistent. There's something about not wanting to break the streak that motivates you to show up, even when you're tired or busy. So my advice, don't leave your progress in your head. Make it visible, whether it's a wall calendar, a whiteboard, a spreadsheet, or a habit tracking app. Pick something that works for you. The point isn't the tool, it's the accountability. When you can literally see your effort paying off, it becomes a lot easier to keep showing up day after day. So this one really caught me off guard. Succeeding in silence. For the longest time, I thought sharing my goals publicly, telling friends, posting on social media, even bringing them up in a casual conversation would help keep me accountable. I figured the more people who knew, the more pressure I'd feel to follow through. But it actually had the opposite effect. I came across some research that explained why. You see, when you announce a goal, your brain gets a little dopamine hit, almost like you've already accomplished it. That early sense of pride can trick you into thinking you've done your work, when all you've done is just talk about it. As a husband, dad, and an entrepreneur trying to juggle it all, I realized I couldn't afford to waste energy on feeling productive without actually producing. Now I do things differently. I keep most of my goals between me, my wife, and a close accountability partner. No social media announcements, no public declarations, just quiet, consistent action. What I do is focus on showing up, doing the work, and letting the results speak for themselves. There's a certain kind of strength that comes from building in private. And if you're someone who's struggling with following through, this shift can be powerful. My advice, don't seek validation too early. Protect your energy, build in silence, and save the celebration for when the goal is actually met. You'll stay more focused and you'll earn a sense of pride that's rooted in real progress, not just potential. One of the biggest mistakes I made early on was trying to overhaul everything at once. I go from not budgeting at all to setting up multiple tracking apps, creating spreadsheets, and planning out every dollar to the penny. It was way too much, too fast, and I'd be burnt out within a week. As a husband, father, and a business owner, I've learned that discipline isn't about massive effort all the time. It's about small, consistent actions that build over time. When I first got serious about content creation, I didn't try to film a whole series or write articles for hours. I just started with just a few 15 minutes a day during my break time. That's it. But I did it every day. And those tiny blocks, they're now part of my lifestyle. The same principle applies to saving money, managing your time, or building new routines. You don't need to start with perfection. You need to start with something you can repeat. Pick one simple action that moves you forward and focus on doing it consistently, not flawlessly. For me, that meant simplifying everything. Instead of a complicated budgeting system, we started tracking just one category. Instead of a full workout, I committed to 10 minutes of just moving my body. And once those small actions became part of who I was, I actually built on them. So here's my advice. Start small. So small it also feels too easy. Because once you build momentum, growth becomes automatic. Small steps don't feel impressive in the moment, but they're what create lasting change. For a long time, I viewed discipline as a form of punishment. It felt like I was constantly telling myself no to no spending, no relaxing, and no doing what I really wanted to do in the moment. And honestly, that mindset wore me out. As a husband and dad, the last thing I needed was one more thing in life that felt like a grind. But everything changed when I started seeing discipline differently. not as a punishment, but as protection. Discipline wasn't about depriving myself, it was about investing in my future. Saying no to impulse spending meant saying yes to financial peace. Saying no to procrastination meant saying yes to building a business that could give my family more time together. That reframe shift everything. Now, when I make disciplined choices, I don't see it as missing out. I see it as showing up for the man I want to become. It's an act of care that we should all take seriously. Saving money, eating better, creating content, showing up consistently. These aren't sacrifices. They're how I honor my future, my family, and the legacy I want to leave. So here's my advice. Start asking yourself, what does my future self need from me today? When you make decisions from that place, not guilt, not fear, but love and responsibility, discipline stops being heavy. It becomes something powerful, something you're proud of. And that mindset shift can take you further than any budget app or habit tracker ever could. So those are my 6 practical ways to build more discipline and actually make it stick. We talked about getting specific with implementation intention, using the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, and the power of tracking your progress visually. I shared why it's better to succeed in silence, how to start ridiculously small, and most importantly, how to reframe discipline as self-care, not punishment. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about becoming the kind of person who follows through. That's how you change your life. Not with one big decision, but with a series of small ones that compound over time. So if this video helped you shift your mindset or gave you a strategy ready to take or try, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.